Well, here we are again at the Rio Coco Cafe, and I'm with Lukas Bagby. We're here for another discussion on serving a cup of life and how that all came about. Just the fact that we're in this building is a pretty extraordinary thing
Yeah.
because we have a roaster that's right next to me, and the fact that our family would actually purchase a roaster, a coffee roaster,
Yeah.
is a pretty extraordinary thing. Now, uh, Lucas, do you remember the first time that you went to Utila in 2008? Do you remember that trip when you
Yeah.
became a certified under open water diver?
Yeah. I think I was 17. Yeah.
You were 17.
17, and it was a vacation trip. It felt like we
Uh-huh.
were just going for fun.
Which was unusual in our life
hmm
at that time, right?
Yeah, it was like we had been out there as little kids, but I have vague memories of that.
Michaela actually learned to swim on Utila out at Bell's Key.
Yeah.
And you were there as probably a 1 and 2 and 3 year old,
Yeah.
when we were living in La
So
Ceiba.
so going there that many years later, but at the time, when you're 17, you don't have a lot of vision quite yet for
Mhm.
your life. You're a lot of it is just what are you going to eat next. Right? So I never thought that we'd have the involvement that we do. I mean, if you think about the friends that we have now, like I think of Carl all the time,
Mhm.
right? It's like wow, because of our time there, we have like a British family member.
And you're going to go see. You're
Yeah,
going to be there for
and
the.
stuff like that.
So, Lucas, were you aware, or do you remember being aware of why we went that summer of 2008 to Utila?
You guys were scoping it out to see what the island was like, right? I mean, um, where did we stay that trip? I'm trying to even remember.
We stayed in the apartment that was
Yeah. Okay.
Troy and Edith owned.
And it is funny too that we end up with the property there that we have, right?
Well, it's an incredible story. If I can refresh your memory for a moment. In '08, we were in Nicaragua, and I don't think you were with us on this trip we made to Nicaragua in the spring of 2008. But we got news that our friend Doña Emilia Sutton had died, and she was the lady that we rented the
Right.
house from.
I remember her.
And she lived right next to us in the big house. And Laura and I thought we need to go back to Ceiba and visit our friends because we hadn't seen them for 8 years.
Yeah.
So we arranged a flight to San Pedro Sula, and then took a flight to La Ceiba. And at the airport, I met one of my pilot friends, Celine, who has a Cessna 172 Alpha Charlie Tango, Hotel Romero Alpha Charlie Tango
Good
side
memory.
number. And he said, "Hey, you want to go to Utila?" And I said,
This is in 2008.
"Yeah." I
Okay.
said, "Sure." He said, "Well, I'll fly you out there." So we used to fly our little airplane out there, and even the Seneca, we flew out there a number of times. It's just a 15-minute flight from La Ceiba. It's 18 miles away. As you know, you can see the mountains behind La
Yeah.
Ceiba very clearly from our dock. But it was a funny experience that I had, Lucas, because we had planned in times when you, as a kid, we took you to Utila. We thought it would be a great place to start a church like Hope Chapel because of all the travelers that were coming to the island for scuba diving.
Right.
I mean, it was like we were meeting Europeans, we were meeting Australians, Argentinians, Israelis, Canadians, English.
Crossroad.
Yeah, it's a huge place that attracted all these young people that were backpacking through Central and South America. What a great place to start a church. And we actually had, I don't know if you remember, when Daryl and Johanna came to La Ceiba.
I don't remember
Yeah,
that,
you
but
were
I remember
you
him talking about it.
yeah, you
So
were 5 or 4 years old at the time, and we actually
he had
went.
long hair.
He had long hair,
Yeah.
and we went out to Utila because Daryl was going to help us plant a church there. And on that trip there was a brand new ferry. Do you remember? You don't remember this?
No, of course not.
Okay, but the ferry out to Utila, it rolled. It was rolling, and my wife was just—she got really seasick.
Your wife, my mom.
and she wanted to take the ferry back. Wanted to fly back. I just told her, it was going to be much more expensive. But I remember you were sitting in the front on the ferry, and you were watching the TV, and there was some show on. And when we got out in the swells, and you were going back and forth, you went woo! And after I mean, literally, you're making that noise. And after about 3 or 4 minutes of this, all of a sudden you went woo, and you went. Ah!
Oh my god!
And you threw up right on the floor.
Did it get on anybody?
No, it didn't. But I looked at Laura, and Laura looked at me, and she goes, "Why didn't we fly back?" Well, we didn't go back to Utila until 10 years later.
That's crazy.
And because of but in the meantime, we'd gone to Israel in '97,
Mm-hmm.
and in '99 we took the family,
Right.
and we lived there, and then we went back in 2000 again, right? So, and then we went in 2006 and '07 again. We totally forgot about planning a church on Utila.
Yeah.
So when I stepped out of Celine's airplane on this day, literally when I got out of the airplane, I'm standing there on the runway, and I suddenly remembered we were going to start a church here on Utila. And I was amazed that I had totally forgotten about that.
Mm.
So we walked down the street, across the bridge, walked down to Utila Water Sports, where Troy had his office, our friend Troy Bodden. And Troy was so happy to see us because we hadn't seen him in 10 years.
Yeah.
And he was our dear friend, he and his wife Edith. And while we're standing there, a kid walks in, and he's a dive master, and he's looking for a job. And Troy had a phone call, and so I said, well, "Where are you from?" "What's your name?" He said, "My name's Aaron." "Where are you from?" "I'm from Israel." I go, "Oh, you're from Israel? Where, really? Where? What town?" He said, "Haifa." I go, "Oh, what a nice place." He goes, "You know Israel?" I said, "Yeah, we lived there off and on for these last few years." He said, "What were you doing there?" And I said, "We were studying archaeology and studying the Bible." "So you're a Christian?" And I sort of, well, what kind of question is he going to ask me? I said, "Yes." He said, "Can you tell me then how God, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus all go together?" And I thought that was such an unusual question for an Israeli kid to be asking me on Utila.
Yeah, maybe he had started reading the Bible before he ran into you.
Well, you know what I think is he'd been traveling, and someone was talking to him.
Yeah.
So I said, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one." I said, "Aaron, that's what starts the synagogue service." Well, the Hebrew, Yahweh Elohim, Yahweh Echad. One is a collective noun. It describes a cluster of grapes. So God's described himself as a multi-personality character. Elohim is God's plural. We had a long talk. Troy came out, gave Aaron a job as a dive master, and he said, "Hey, how are your kids doing?" And I said, "Well, we have a couple more that you saw them." He said, "Well, why don't you bring them back this summer, and you can stay in my apartment and let them take the open water course."
Mm-hmm.
So that was the setup for coming back in June that year and staying in his apartment for a month. And remember your dive instructor's name? What was her name?
No.
Chemical engineer from Halifax, Andrea.
Yeah, it's vague.
Okay, but she was a pretty spunky girl. You remember?
Not really. I remember she had dark hair, right?
Yeah, she had dark hair, and the dive crew at Utila Water Sports were Italian, Swiss, there were German, there was Canadians, English. Remember, you're the dive master that was used to be a intensive care nurse in England, and she was just so careful in looking after you guys. But we had lots of conversations with them, and did you enjoy that dive experience?
Yeah, for the most part. I think I came away from it realizing I didn't. I prefer not being weighed down with scuba equipment,
Yeah.
but being able to go down and stay down for 40 minutes.
That was an experience, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
And the fact that our whole family was doing it.
Yeah.
And Moselle, do you remember how Moselle was diving at that time since she couldn't take the course legally because she was only 7?
Right, and you were holding her like this, like a little. It was like from a video game or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our dive instructor said, "Well, Moselle, she can use your spare regulator, and as long as you hold her under your arm, and she can dive with us," which is so unusual.
Yeah, I feel like if you were not there, maybe there in the Philippines, you can get away with that.
Yeah, but that
But
just
other places, it'd be like,
it was just so unusual. But it was such an experience, and we realized in our conversations. What I walked away with after the conversation with Aaron that day was the Lord said, start a coffee store here, not a church, because more people will come to a coffee store.
were we at that point? Were we selling coffee beans
We
yet?
we had bought a roaster in 2008, and we had it at Richard Mills's factory.
So did we have it before or after you went back for the first time?
And we got the roaster afterwards because
Okay.
that was March of that year,
Okay.
and I think April or May is when we purchased the roaster. And we came back in June to Utila for a month.
Yeah.
And while we were on Utila, that's when the roaster arrived, and Richard Mills set it up in his
Okay.
building. So when we came back, there was the roaster. You know, I mean,
The
God,
timing's wild. Now, I never actually thought about that detail, but
yeah. Well, Larry Larson, Larry's Beans was of Larry's Beans. That's his company in Raleigh. Larry was roasting our coffee, and
I remember all that, and the bags, and he had a very his style of art on his bags was kind of what's the word, contemporary.
very contemporary.
A lot of angles.
And he had
Anyway.
this stick figure of
Yeah.
a guy that was always
Yeah,
Buzz
but it
and
was
Pop.
him. It looked like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how your young mind remembers images like that. But I remember going and I think did I meet him once?
Yeah. We went to Raleigh at a dirt road in downtown area by the train yard. Was where his facility was, and he kept our.
We had to send him a bag just for fun to say, hey, thanks for helping us.
I have done that over the on occasion. I sent him my book. I actually went to visit him last time I was in Raleigh.
Yeah, we ought to see the Remediosis sometime too.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I was gonna ask you something. Oh, and so when the roaster arrived, did you know right then that you wanted to do a cafe on the island, or at what point were you like, oh, that's what we have to do? Because I remember, what summer was it that we went and actually started making stuff? The benches and all that.
Yeah.
Was that 2010?
That was actually 2010. So the summer, that month we spent in 2008, was a time where we realized we were making coffee for people. And I had that conversation. Remember Marion, who was the
I do remember her, yeah.
With her gnarly tattoos?
Yeah. She's pretty gruff, but nice.
Well, she was the one who really never said much to us. And even though all the other instructors were pretty curious about this family, and especially that we had a school project out in the remote eastern corner of Honduras, which they had heard about, but nobody had ever been there. So we were a curious quantity,
right.
Object of curiosity. So we came back in. I probably have to edit this out. Do you think that's off, or should we just?
Well, I needed the mic.
Oh, you
did? Nothing. It's not going to pick anything up right now.
Well, you would think that
it'll probably pick up the dead noise or the silence and cut it out.
Yeah. We'll see here.
I mean, we can turn it back on if you want. It's just going to be super loud.
Well, we are at the Rio Coco Cafe. So let's turn it on and let's just pick it up here. Okay, well,
it might not.
We are at the Rio Coco Cafe.
You know, it's gonna pick our voices up.
Okay. And someone just ordered a 2.5 pound bag of what are you grinding? What are you grinding? Tamor. Okay, one of our big sellers, Tamor.
The go.
So yes, the greatest of all time coffee.
Our best seller.
From the island of Timor. And so occasionally we at the cafe are fortunate to move a lot of this delicious coffee. And our roaster, Olivia, is back there grinding some coffee right now. So we ended up going back to Utila in 2009. We stayed in the same apartment, and we
was I there?
Yeah, you were there, and Tony and Olivia were with us. Remember?
Yeah. Well, that was a different. That was an earlier trip. We went 3 years in a row.
We did.
Okay.
Because we're trying to figure out if the Lord wanted us to start a coffee store, we had to figure out how to do this. Yeah. Meanwhile, we had our roaster in Vero Beach in 2008, and so we started roasting coffee and going to the farmers market.
Yeah, I remember all that for sure.
So as now our family's getting up at 4:30 on Saturday. We are brewing coffee, putting it in these thermal containers, and we have some air pots and some kettles, and we're grinding coffee, and we're making French press coffee and selling it, and we're selling our bags, Moselles in the front. Basically, our front person, you and Michaela, are the ones making the coffee, and so Ariel and Moselle. I mean, Moselle's what, 9 years old?
Yeah.
In front. And she did just an incredible job just talking to customers, and so we're doing that in 2008 and 9 and 10. But meanwhile, we're going back to Utila. 2009, we spent another month. We invited a number of people over to our house. We're making coffee for them. Do you remember the girls from Dublin, Jennifer? And
yeah, I remember them. Yeah, they were funny.
Yeah. Jennifer, when we were standing in line in La Ceiba to go to Utila that month, Jennifer came up to me. She said, "Excuse me, sir, excuse me. I have a question." And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Do they sell rum on Utila?" I said, "Well, of course they do." She said, "Well, you know, we've got 3 liters. We just wanted to make sure we could buy more."
Yeah.
They're girls from Dublin, right?
Yeah.
And as our friend Tony once told us, the reason God invented alcohol so the Irish wouldn't take over the world.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, we saw Jennifer and her friend Sinead a couple days after we got to Utila, and Laura and I were out for our morning walk about 5:30 in the morning, and Jen and Sinead were coming back from an all-night out on the town. They were like really dragging it, so we saw them and said, "Hey, well, you want to come over to our house and we'll make some coffee?" Sure. And so they started coming over.
Yeah.
And Jen's an accountant. Sinead's an archaeologist, and she actually worked at the National Library, had really a big job there. But these girls, we asked them, were they Christians? They said, "Well, you know, we went to church and we had to dress up in white when we were 12, and we had to memorize a bunch of stuff, but we really weren't sure what was happening." And we said, "Well, that was probably your confirmation as church members." "Oh, okay." Well, we told them our experience.
They said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, they didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah.
You know. And then when they left, they came over the day before they left, and they said, "You know, we're going to leave tomorrow morning." And we asked, could we pray for them? And I don't know if you remember this, but we.
Was I even there?
You were in the apartment.
Okay.
Yeah. We put our hands on their shoulders and just prayed for God's blessing and protection, and they started weeping. They just did not know it was a Holy Spirit moment. You know, it was really cool. What
That's
happened?
awesome. I remember they saw you doing flips going to do a flip off of the boat.
No, off of the double dock. Remember that?
Oh, okay. You're right. It was a double dock.
And I was doing a backflip off the.
But she said
top.
later, she told us, she said, I looked over at my friend and said, "This old man's trying to kill himself."
he's, he's look. There's an old man. He's trying to commit suicide.
Yeah, I thought you jumped off the big time.
Maybe it was the big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a pretty high jump.
It was a high jump,
and you were flipping off the side.
I was flipping off the side.
And I guess if you didn't know you, some guy with white hair is going to end it all right there. He's had enough of Utila.
Desperation.
There's nowhere high enough, I guess, actually.
Okay, that probably
Remember
was.
that?
Yeah, that was probably the big time.
In her Irish accent, that whole man is trying to kill himself. Anyway.
Well, we came back the next year and we continued making coffee, and we thought we found one location that we could actually build out a cafe. And that was when we met Robert Baden, and he came and helped us. And our friend Clint from Montana, that had come to Montana a couple years before to help us with our project there, he was a furniture designer, and he gave us the design for our benches.
I remember making those benches.
And we just got pine wood, Honduran pine, but we wanted to color them, so we got a red rosewood sort of stain.
Yeah.
It was almost purple.
Well, we still have those benches, right?
The original ones, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was an incredible design and very comfortable.
Yeah.
But I remember Michaela's hands were purple.
How long were we there that trip?
We were there for a month, and then we came back in the fall of 2010, I think, and we thought we were going to launch the cafe.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out.
I remember feeling like after that trip, it was like, because we were waking up and then staining wood and then clear coating it. I think, how old was I? 17, 18? Anyway, I just remember feeling like, okay, now I have some skin in the game now. Like after, because we would work most of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
It turned out the property that we thought we were going to rent just didn't work out for the owners of the property, and we realized for us it wasn't a good location.
Well, looking back, yeah.
Just at
the moment, it felt like it sucked. That didn't work out because we had kind of built that coffee bar right into the or there's pillars, and we built it around that, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the layout.
Then it just didn't work out. We had a couple of girls that we were going to work with that they didn't work out, and so we went down the following spring in March of 2011, and we were like, okay, we got to find a place to put the cafe, and that's when our friend Durrell came up to me, and he said, remember how Durrell talked? He's very soft.
Is he still alive?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He said, there's a lady that has her house for rent. You need to come and see it.
Yeah.
And so I walked down there, and I looked at this house, and just a two-story it was a single-story house on poles, on columns. It was had access to the water. The backyard was right on the water. The backyard was filled with trash. The house, he said, well, this lady Dorcas has just inherited from her dad. She wants to sell it. I said, well, you think she'd rent it to us? And he said, well, let's see it. He whipped out his phone and called her. She's living in Dallas, and he had her number.
Yeah.
And she agreed to rent it to us for $500 a month. And so, wow. We came back that summer with some friends of ours from Maui.
Which ones?
Alex Abernathy.
Oh, yeah, I remember that trip.
Tehani and Whitney. And Dustin was there, and Kate was there, because they had just gone to the Great Commission Bible School that Randy Smith had started. And who was the guy? The young man, not Caleb.
That came down?
Yeah, that was part of our crew. He was really a hard worker. Ended up going in the Army.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's in my tongue. Yeah, the Sebring kid.
Yeah, right.
He became a Marine. Man, I'm gonna have to ask Ariel.
So we worked that summer of 2011, and I mean, it was June, July, and finally in August, Robert came and dismantled the coffee bar from the one location, brought it over. We put,
Robert or Walter?
Robert did,
Okay.
because Walter at that time was doing other things. Walter helped us initially, but Robert was the guy
Yeah.
that,
Much better pickup.
yeah,
Probably.
much better, yeah.
Walter was expensive. He
Right.
kind of had an ego.
Oh no, he was one of the best builders on the island, you know.
You could feel it.
And Robert was just a carpenter, and
Yeah.
now Robert's been working with us ever since. That's 2011. He's been 15 years. He's been working with us,
Very cool.
and he's become a craftsman. He
Yeah.
really has. So we built out this location, and we opened the cafe in the summer of 2011 on Utila, which was really cool.
Yeah.
We built a small dock on the back. After cleaning up the property, we painted those columns, and Alex Abernathy is an artist, and she took a leaf, and I forget what kind of leaf. It was a big, like handprint leaf.
It's like an elephant ear type of.
And she painted. She put a green paint on it and put it right on those columns. It was just beautiful what she did. And we had our benches, and we sent down an espresso machine and grinders, and we opened the cafe, and we were all living on the property, living in that two-bedroom house.
Yeah.
Sleeping on the prostitute
It
mattresses.
was a little more rugged back then. Like the, yeah, just we have it deluxe now.
Super deluxe.
I mean,
the kitchen was super small. We had one bathroom we were sharing.
Get zapped by the hot water apparatus.
Oh, we had one of those Widowmakers heaters in the head of the shower, and you turn it on, and the water would get hot. But if you touched the faucet, you could get shocked, and I did a couple times.
Yeah, it's terrible, scary. I would just shower cold. So so now that we were just recently there, so what do you think when you look back? Do you have core Utila memories yet that stick out to you? Because for me, I think I have a lot of memories, but now what I think of is like the friends that we have and these lasting relationships, specifically Carl and Marcos, right?
And Marcos was just here just last week visiting us, you know.
And it's like we have these people in our life in a deep and intimate way where it's like we're going to be friends for life now.
Right, and Guillermo.
Right, yeah.
He was.
I wish I haven't seen him in a while.
Well, he was just on Utila last week. When we were there, he was sick. He had, I think, some kidney stones or something, and I think he was actually in Saba at some doctor's.
Yeah.
He lives on Roatan now, and he teaches dancing, and he works on compressors, and he plays his sitar at a yoga studio. You know, this is a friend of ours from Argentina, Guillermo.
I'm surprised not surprised, but it's funny that you guys are still such good friends because of the ideological differences, right?
Well, huge ideological differences. Been very offended by the message of the gospel in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Growing up in Argentina. And at the time, there was a military dictatorship in Argentina that was very brutal, and so he was very opposed to anybody being any military. And his dad was a military officer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there was lots of there's lots of conflict going on there, you know, and
that's so different than if you're an American kid, right? That kind of stuff happening, you know.
And remember, he took time off from his computer engineering job to travel, and while he was traveling, the economy in Argentina just went crazy, and hyperinflation happened, and all of the money in his bank was suddenly worthless. So that's when he learned how to do fire dancing and juggling. Remember, he's telling the story just to make a living, to buy food, and he was I think, traveling in India at the time. Yeah, Guillermo is one of our friends that ideologically was very against didn't really like Christians.
Yeah, but I think we won him over with how we treated him,
Oh, yeah.
and he's been a good friend to us,
Dear, dear friend.
Yeah, but I
And
think there's a lot of characters like that, and I think now, I think going there this past trip as like a not spectator, but this past trip for me was very vacation, and helping the team.
mhm.
But to see the photos they're sending now, and it's like they have this whole crew of people I've never even seen before, and it's like
They're building their own
yeah,
experience.
I mean that's for me to have any hand in that as a 18-year-old schmuck just staining wood and having a bad attitude about it, you know that's really cool.
Yeah.
And like now going there is like mostly just fun, right? Like we work pretty hard, but the property we have now has turned into something that quite obviously God blessed. you
Well,
know,
well, we rented it. It was put up for sale. A Canadian guy put money down to buy it. We thought we were going to have to move off the property, but as things turned out, there were some liens on the property. He wanted to use our dock for a sailboat. He backed out of the deal. We started looking for a loan to buy the property, and finally we found a banker that was willing to give us a loan.
perfect. Wait, here or there?
Well, it was your grandfather, Ron Lueda.
Oh, guys, how does that work? Getting a loan in another country?
Well, there was a bank in Tegucigalpa that Brad Ryan, remember Brad,
Yeah,
the
the real
realist,
estate guy.
the marine biologist that lived in Hawaii and owned Munchies?
Yeah,
Brad told us there was a bank in Tegucigalpa that was we could get a loan from. We're going to pay 10 or 12% interest, which is high, really high.
yeah.
And so
It sounds like a bad idea.
I sent some emails and we corresponded back and forth. But then your grandfather was, I think he was either here visiting or we were in Hawaii. He said, "How's that uh, process going? Are you going to buy the property?" And I said, "Well, the bank's not really communicating to me very well right now." And he said, "Look, I just sold the property. I'm going to be your bank. I'll
Oh,
make you a loan." And what a guy, huh?
legend.
Legend, Ron Lueda. Ron and Gene Coffee. We honor
Yeah.
Ron. He was a real saint and so helpful. So we just bought the property in 2016, and we were able to immediately change out those cement pillars that was holding the building up. You remember?
But yeah, those are
And
yeah,
there were 36 of them. The house had been shaken in Hurricane Mitch in '98, and it turns out that 32 of the 36 columns, which had no rebar,
yeah.
just
I
cement.
remember some of them were really rugged looking.
Right. Well, they were cracked.
Yeah.
32 of them were cracked, and
Yeah.
so Robert replaced them with PVC filled with rebar and cement on a 4x4 footer.
Mm.
And suddenly we had a strong foundation for the house. And as we were doing that, the next step was taking our back porch and turning it into our kitchen, because our kitchen was tiny. We were baking all of our banana bread.
I can't even. It's hard to even picture that back porch now.
Yeah, remember we used to hang laundry there and have our
Yeah.
Bible studies there, and it was
Yeah.
just really nice.
Yeah.
But while we were building the porch, I said, "Hey, if we're putting all this up, could we put it like a third floor on and have a little apartment?" And coincidentally, remember we were buying our Honduran coffee from this ministry called
Yeah.
Serve Hope. Hope. This guy was an architect that was
I don't remember the name, but I
building.
remember the bags.
Yeah, building.
Was that Eric Johnson found him?
No. This was maybe Eric Johnson knew of the
I remember
organization.
Eric made all these new connections when they went to Utila.
Yeah, and so anyway, Mark Fitz was the architect. He randomly came to visit us on Utila. I'd never met him before. While we were building,
I don't remember
while
this.
we were building the kitchen,
Yeah.
and I had already talked to Robert about putting a third floor on. But of course, you never know how that's going to go. And so,
Right.
but suddenly an architect shows up,
Nice.
and he's staying with us.
So he can tell you
I said, Mark,
yes or no.
do you think we have the foundation and the ability to do this? And he looked around, he looked at our footings, looked at the collar. He goes, sure, this will be no problem. So we put a third floor on. And eventually now we built another apartment kind of on the side.
Well, now it's like a what's that? What's that? Greek paradox? Theseus ship. You never heard that?
What?
Where it's like Theseus ship goes on a journey, and it's such a long journey that he has to replace pieces of wood along the way. And by the time he gets back, every piece of wood
Has been
has
replaced.
been replaced. So is it still Theseus's ship, or is it a new thing entirely? That's what I think of when I walk onto the property now. I look at all this stuff, and I'm like, there's only a few OG pieces of material left in here.
Right.
We've really transformed this place.
From our front porch, all of the downstairs, we've even replaced the cement downstairs.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe the floor upstairs in the house.
Floor in the
main room.
In the main room,
like the walls is probably
there, but everything else, the kitchen is new.
Yeah.
The third floor, the apartment.
I think the bathrooms are.
The bathroom has been redone.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's to go there now. I think I strongly get the feeling of Providence.
As the founders of our republic and the Constitution, Providence was always present, right?
Right, because it's like, it's amazing. And then now, bonus, the fact that one of our guys, Jake, buys a sailboat,
right,
and he's got a place to post it up, and
right, he's got a dock.
We're making full use of our dock,
Exactly.
I mean, that's really sick.
Well, yeah, no, when that's going on in 2008, 9 and 10, and then in 11 is when the building that we were in with our roaster, we were roasting coffee, and you were one of our roasters. At Richard Mills Trust Factory, the bank was foreclosing on the property because of construction. 2008, the economic
sad times.
Yeah, it was just all the building just came to a screeching halt, and so we had to move our roaster. And we thought, well, since we're going to start a cafe on Utila, we should start one here in Vero Beach. And we started looking around for property, and that's when we met Fred Famelli. Remember, Fred said he was going to be our real estate agent?
Yeah.
And so we started looking around.
That's another farmer's market connect, right?
Right.
Yeah. All these people.
Fred rode up on his bicycle.
Yeah.
And we got chatting. I said, well, yeah, I ride bike.
Yeah.
And so I started riding bike with Fred. And Fred started showing us.
So did he find this place?
No.
Oh.
Remember he showed us that place down on the other side of the tracks, the Blue Octopus?
I remember that.
His friend owned that. We looked at that, but it was so expensive. The rent was going to be $4,000 or $5,000.
All those places that seemed ideal, it was like the rent was so insane.
It was just high for us. I couldn't conceive of how many cups of coffee we were going to have to sell. And then we got asked to open a cafe at the Surf Club. Remember that summer?
That whole saga. That was tough work.
Mm-hmm.
That could have worked, maybe. I just think the Surf Club itself was a little too far gone at that point. Had we gotten there 5 years earlier, I think maybe it would have. The kitchen was old.
Right.
It was like nobody was going there to stay there. Yeah, it was sad.
Right. It was a great property.
Yeah, amazing.
So that summer, 2010, I think, we started serving coffee at the Surf Club over on the beach. Mm-hmm. And Kelly Vold came in and started running the kitchen, so we were working with him. But
I think if anything, it was nice that we enabled that experience for them.
Yes. But I came over to pick up a sign at this Signs by Tomorrow next door.
Yeah.
And Cheryl was the owner of the thrift store that's here in this part of the warehouse structure. And I walked in, and she had a sign over the door that said breakfast and lunch. And I walked in, and I saw Cheryl, and she'd given us money because her son was a missionary in Venezuela, and she started this thrift store to basically fund ministry. And so she had given us money over the years. And I said, Cheryl, are you starting a cafe? And she said, well, I was going to, but the lady I was going to do this with, she couldn't do it. And we have a commercial kitchen here because this used to be like a daycare center. So
Yeah.
she said, I really need to sublet it out. And I said, well, we're looking for a place to move our roaster. I said, how much would you rent this one day? She showed me the back here. It was a bunch of clothes back in
Yeah.
this area here. And she said, I'll rent it to you for 700 a month.
Nice.
And I said, okay. And then you remember all of our friends said, you're going to put a cafe out by the airport?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come to the airport for
Yeah.
coffee. Remember that?
Yeah. Even Uncle Daryl didn't think that we would be able to stay in business.
And he's a
Uncle
professional
Daryl.
chef. Professional chef. Uh, but it seemed like this was where the Lord assigned us. So we made an agreement with Cheryl. We went to Utila. We worked for those 3 months, June, July, August, and we opened the cafe there. And then we came back to Vero Beach. And I started making shelves and trying to fix this up.
We just had the one bay, right?
Yeah, just this, and 2/3 of it, literally, we had to right here. Right here is where we
Wow.
had.
That's so crazy. I remember, yeah, because we just had the stove in the kitchen, and then we learned all about what we're allowed to do, and there was so much stuff, really, looking back.
To actually accomplish to open the cafe.
Yeah, and that we learned on the fly. You know, that's so. I mean, yeah, I was such a schmuck back then.
What do you mean?
Just not thinking about myself as someone that runs a business, just like going through the day to day. But looking back, you know, it's very cool to be in business this many years later.
Well, it is.
Most local places have like a 8-year run, and then they close up.
It's been this will be 15 years for us.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing for me was people told us no one would ever come to the come to the airport for coffee.
Yeah.
We're kind of an out of the way location because Main Street, 14th Avenue, on the beach, all these other places where there are restaurants. There's no restaurants out here.
Yeah.
But I really felt this was where the Lord assigned us our place. So when we came back from Utila, I was cutting wood out in the back here, and we're right next to runway 4, and runway 30 right is right here. We're right in that intersection. So I'm hearing all the airplanes taking off, and I'm smelling the jet fuel exhaust. To me,
the nostalgia.
Well, yeah, because to me, when living on aircraft carriers, flying the airplanes I did, that's a good smell. That brings back good memories. And I just was thanking the Lord. Lord, thanks for letting me be around the airport, around airplanes. But remember, we opened on December 5th, 2011.
Yeah.
2 days later, there were 4 guys that walked in the cafe. We only had 3 tables at the time. There were 4 guys walking in the cafe. They had white shirts on, black
the
ties.
pilot students, yeah.
And their name tags, I said, who are you guys? They said, well, we're Swiss Air pilots. Swiss Air pilots, what are you doing here? Oh, this is where we come for our training. We're at flight safety. How long are you here for? We're here for like 3.5 months. Suddenly I knew why the Lord had planted us here at the airport. And so that we would have these international people, just like on Utila, coming in.
Yeah.
And it was like suddenly validation. And because your mother and I took a step of faith, not seeing the whole picture, and people said, no one's going to come to the airport for coffee. And even Daryl, remember he came and spent a week with us, and he trained you how to make 3 sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
Daryl's our friend. He's a professional chef,
Can we pause it real quick, or just mute this? I have to pee.
Okay, let's, okay.
Well, I just muted it. Just give me 1 second.
Okay, you're going to have to edit this out then. So So it's really quite a story that we're here in this building. We started off with 3 tables. We moved one of our walls about 4 feet and added another table in 2012. 2013, the furniture store that occupied bays 4 and 5 went out of business, and so we rented those 2 bays. And then, of course, we have to cut a hole in the wall, and we actually were able to build out a kitchen, have a bigger kitchen, and we had a lot more seating. And then 3 years ago now, coming up, the thrift store went out of business, so we took over bays 1 and 2, and now we're in a
Okay, sorry.
we're in a pretty big.
We were talking about Daryl and sandwiches.
Well, Daryl came before we opened, and he taught you and Michaela and Ariel and Moselle how to make 3 sandwiches.
Yeah, like a turkey club, breakfast sandwich.
Yeah.
A chicken Caesar wrap.
Right. And we just had a stove with 4 burners, had a refrigerator, all working in a very confined space. And Daryl walked away from that, and he later said that he told his wife, Johanna, they'll be out of business in 6 months. Mm-hmm. Right? But we survived 6 months.
And it's a realistic assessment.
It was.
Based on the location.
Right. But you can never discount the God factor.
For sure.
Because it's very obvious that God wanted us to be here. We didn't have the complete picture at the time, but because of our experience in starting this school project in the most remote corner of Central America and all the things that God did there, and then to get this idea to start a coffee store on Utila, and 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, we're seeing God provide us with property, with people, with resources to start a cafe here, and we don't have the complete picture, but we know what God has done in our lives before. So our ability to take steps of faith is, I think, a lot easier.
Yeah, well, it feels natural.
It's a natural life. We're fortunate because a lot of people don't really get a chance to experience that. They're Christians, they're walking with the Lord, but they never have had an opportunity, or I guess taken the opportunity maybe, to really step out and do something that they've never done before, or they don't think they can do, or they're not expecting to do, or something that would take them out of their comfort zone to some faraway place. Like, look at your mom. Mm-hmm. Your mom never had been camping before. She's from Honolulu. She's always dressed to the T. Her makeup, her hair. She's a cosmetologist, social worker. And she marries me. And she has to give up this lucrative career that she has as a hair cutter. I mean, I remember one weekend when I knew her. She went over to Oahu. She cut hair for the weekend. She came back with a couple $1,000 in her hand. She was making money. Now she's going to go to Honduras, and she's not going to be making money. And all of her friends saying, "Well, how are you going to survive?" And she didn't know. The Lord had taken care of me. I mean, when I left Maui in November of '84, I had $200 in my Bank of Hawaii account. And when I got back in May of '86, there was $700 in my Bank of Hawaii account. And I was able to do the traveling. It was just like people were giving me money along the way. It was incredible. So for us having this experience, we can now collectively look back and say, "Wow, Lord, you really did something."
Yeah, especially now. Got 2 locations in our town. I mean, it doesn't make sense why we're still in business, but we are, you know.
So that's my question for the next generation is, what is he going to do with what we have built so far?
Yeah.
What's he built? I mean, what does he want to do with it? That's why I love having a space now in Bay 2, Bay 1, that is our study room.
Right.
And we have at least 3 groups a week that use that room to study the Word of God.
Yeah.
And we also have other gatherings and other Bible studies that are
Yeah, we're
different
really
people.
providing. People talk about the concept of a third place beyond work and home.
Hmm.
You know, and church. Beyond that, and I think we're really providing that. For because I feel like you look back at human history, right? You hear of like taverns and places like that where very common. At the end of the day, a bunch of people that don't necessarily know each other are all gathered.
Hmm.
Camaraderie. So it's a very it goes deep. The type of space that we're providing
Well,
for
it's,
our
it's
community.
community, right?
Yeah,
And would you say that our just being, first of all, an innocent bystander and a participant and a sweat equity laborer for free, right? We were feeding you and we were housing you, right?
yeah,
And you're working. But looking back now, the whole concept of creating community, hasn't it far outweighed any sort of financial benefits maybe that we've reaped from this business?
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I think everyone realizes this as you get older. Money and possessions are very fleeting, and not there's only so much happiness you can get out of an item. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Relationships, right? That's true satisfaction. And I think, especially now, younger generation, maybe the social media era, I think it's a lot of good things with the internet, but a lot of bad stuff too.
Like what? What do you mean?
Well, I think there's a lot of struggle to relate face to face now. And there's a lot of what they call like parasocial relationships where you're just looking at somebody's life via Instagram.
The images that they want you to
Right,
see
and you
of their
don't
life.
really know them, and when it comes down to it, um, it's hard. It's becoming harder for people to relate to each other face to face. So I'm just happy that we provide a space where that happens very naturally,
Hmm.
and it's a welcoming, very organic um, way of life. And I feel like one of my favorite things is watching people watch customers come in, and then I'll see at a certain point I'll see a customer come in with another customer together, and it's like they became friends, And I see that happen a lot. More, I think I see it more downtown, but yeah, I love that. It's like, oh wow, they became friends. Now they
Yeah.
have a place that they can say, oh, you know, let's go to Rio and meet up or whatever. I love that about what I get to do. And there's a lot of grindy parts about running a restaurant.
Grindy parts?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff where you don't really get um, satisfaction, but
Well, I've
when
se-
it comes to moments like that,
yeah, well, I've seen you recently down on your hands and knees cleaning corners, scrubbing baseboards,
someone's gotta.
and honestly, for me, there is satisfaction in looking at that work and going, okay, we've created
Yeah,
a healthy, comfortable space,
yeah, for sure.
and
Well, it's like an extension of our homes, really. So, um, yeah, and I think people need that. If you don't have that in your life, all kinds of all kinds of things are liable to happen with your mental state.
mental state. It would seem in our times with our phones and internet, we should be more connected and more relational, but in fact, it seems the
It's
opposite
the
has
opposite.
happened.
Yeah.
And that has caused anxiety. That's caused people who are comparing themselves to what they see on their screens.
Yeah.
And I don't ever show a picture of me walking out of the bathroom in the morning.
Yeah. Of course not.
I show them my best look, right? But when
It's
you,
a natural thing to do.
yeah, but when you're living with people and relating to them, you will see them walk out of the bathroom in the morning, right?
Right.
You will see all sides of them, and we don't see that. So for us, the value of community here at the Rio Coco Cafe far outweighs any sort of financial benefits.
Right.
And I think the beauty is when God is with you and the engine of what you're doing, I think He takes care of all the details.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I have a different view on money just based on my life experience. If you're doing what God has for you, you know, He's gonna provide. You know, um, there's so many random little things that have happened. I feel like you've never really had a job my whole life, or at least a paycheck, right?
I haven't had a job.
Well, I mean, like a pay.
I haven't. I have not received a salary or payment since I left in November of '84. I haven't, but as you well know, God has been very good to us.
So,
Anywhere that He sends us, He seems to provide all that we need.
yeah,
And
seriously,
that's 6 plane tickets because we always took you with us.
yeah,
Most of our trips. We made a few trips to Israel by ourselves, but generally we took you guys everywhere with us.
yeah,
And He seemed to always provide what we needed.
yeah. And I feel it's the same with this business where something will happen and we feel like we need to spend a lot of money here, but it just seems like it works out. And yeah, I mean, just there's so many little random moments of people showing up and being like, "Oh, like I was supposed to give you this,"
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, "Wow, okay."
So Lucas, head down the road 5 years from now. Where do you see yourself? What are you going to be doing? Are you going to?
Hopefully, selling a lot of coffee. That would be amazing. I want to expand personally on. Um, I want to be able to use the space here for. Um, I don't know what kind of engagement, but I'd like to have more events, have more outreach. I have a vision of an art show, maybe stuff like that.
Mhm.
Personally, I want to use our physical spaces more to because I don't like going out. I'm not into going out and getting drinks and going to bars and doing that. And I know there's other people like me. Um, now, but then on the flip side, when somebody does say, "Oh, let's go out," I don't have an alternative suggestion, right? So I'm
Right,
not part of the solution.
right.
So at some point, I want to gently be part of the solution, where it's like, okay, well, there's other stuff to engage with
Okay,
besides.
okay.
Anyway,
I want to tell you, we just bought 4 new cue sticks.
okay, well, there we go.
Okay, and we have our warehouse section
Yeah,
with a ping pong table and a pool table
yeah,
that we in times past we've had a lot of people over and made use of that space. And
yeah.
I think that's probably
I think everybody, whether they think it or not, is looking for exciting friendships,
Mhm.
and they want relations, and whether platonic or romantic, and um, that's the real essence of life, right?
It is the essence of life.
So
Yes.
anyway, I just feel like we have a couple of spaces in our town, and it's really easy for me to work throughout the week and not do more beyond that because it's pretty taxing sometimes.
Hmm.
So anyway, I want to be trying to use our space more to engage our community a bit
Yeah.
more. Well, I feel like you guys are doing that quite a bit with your studies, right?
Well, you and I have had a life experience where the Bible has opened up to us to
That
become.
room is full on Thursday, and I don't know about today, but Thursday is like every seat in there. It's like you have to start selling tickets now.
Well, here's the thing. I really want to reach people your age, and I just want to go on record as saying to the general public that my son Lucas has a perspective of life in the Bible that very few of his generation has, and that God has given him an ability to comprehend and analyze and expound in a way that's very received by most people that he speaks to. So where I see you in these next years is instead of me filling the room on Thursday morning, I think you and your generation will fill it up. I really do.
Hope so.
Because if you look at the age group that I'm dealing with, it's people that are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. I'm in my 70s, and I would love to see people in their 20s and 30s in that room. And when Jake, notice when Jake was teaching the book of John this past year, suddenly we had people that Jake was playing volleyball with,
Yeah.
and they were coming in, and I think I think that's what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
I'm looking for that opportunity. But this is to us has been a real adventure. An adventure to me in my dictionaries that I have is defined as a risky undertaking, but a remarkable experience. Now, would you say that it's been a risky undertaking?
Yeah, not as risky as some things, other things you can do, but
Well, when you think about, remember getting in that Seneca and flying from here to Honduras?
yeah, I mean, I was just riding though.
But
Yeah.
but you do remember looking at the raft behind
Yeah.
the co-pilot seat, right?
Yeah.
And wondering if we land in the water, how that raft is going to work, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Luckily, I never seen it.
that's a bit risky, though. See, those are aspects that are a bit risky.
Well, I think I just when I think about risky, it's always related to pop, right? So
Oh, okay.
my life,
In that.
Pop is my dad's dad, Forrest G. Bagby, and he was a World War II veteran. All Second Armored Division from Africa.
Made the invasion November 9th and just north of Casablanca, fought in the North African campaign. July 43 made the invasion of Sicily at Gela as the beach they landed. George Patton is his army commander, and then came ashore at Omaha Beach.
Yeah. Anyway, so when I think of the word risk, I always think of him, and I'm like, man, well, he had a risky life, and he made it back.
He did, right?
And he, but there has been risk for sure, and I think the risk in my case is more of growing up different, having a different teenage experience than everyone else, having different feeling like I missed out on things, feeling like I'm this, feeling like I'm that, but overall looking back and being like, well, I have a very unique experience, and maybe I missed out on some things, but other things I didn't, and so anyway, navigating that that's where it feels like the risk, but then overall it's like, well, I don't think I would trade it. I thought about that a lot. I was like, well, would you trade it? And it's like, well, some days maybe I feel like, yeah, I would. Like, but that's emotions. Whereas overall, it's like, well, no. Like, you wouldn't trade, the perspective you have.
It was remarkable. It's been a remarkable experience.
Right? I mean, it still is. And I feel like I said before, for us to be in business in our 14th year, to me, that's amazing. And I still feel like a dumb kid, but I'm not, and it's like, oh wow, I'm actually in this, I'm in it. We did it in a way, we did all that. So I feel a sense of proudness, but then I more so feel a sense of, well, where we're supposed to be, because like we said, this location was so. I mean, even now, there's much nicer places we could be, but here we are.
Here we are at the airport.
Yeah, with all our bays.
And guess what? We inherited an airplane.
Yeah.
We got an airplane that's parked about 400 yards that direction.
Yeah.
So, God has a plan, Lucas, and it's a pretty remarkable plan. It has been for our family, but just for those of you that are just, joining us and listening, I just really feel that God has a plan for every follower of Jesus, and the plan is going to be different. The adventure is going to be different. It's going to be tailored toward the way He created you with your talents and your different personalities and your life experiences and the knowledge base that he's given you and the friends that he's surrounded you with and where he's placed you. I think it's a very unique time that we have on the human stage of history where we come on stage, we play our part, and then we depart to be with him. And I look back on my dad. You know, he played a very significant part in human history
Yeah.
by fighting World War II and being one of the three guys in his company of 120 that survived to the end of the war. The things that he did as a military person during the Cold War, and then just the fact that he took us to church when we were kids, and then later on in his life made a real commitment to Jesus and became one of our big supporters and really cared for us. You know,
Yeah.
we've had an incredible opportunity with my mom and dad and Laura's mom and dad and just our family. But I want to encourage you that God has that for you too. He has a very special adventure. Ours is just our adventure, but He has one for you. So
That's a good word.
that's kind of the story of the Rio Coco Cafe and how we got to this place. But there's more to be told and more to talk about. And so we're going to continue these discussions as we're serving a cup of life here at the Rio Coco Cafe. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. See ya.
Button.
Yeah.